It's just after 6 a.m. when Jane hears her own voice say, "Could you pull in here for a moment, please?" Her driver flicks on the indicator and eases the company BMW towards a grim little corner shop. The streetlights are still on. The only other car outside is a battered hatchback with the engine idling and music too loud for this time of day. Jane is in a blazer and heels. Her ID badge is still clipped to her lapel. Chief Executive Officer. In 40 minutes, she's due at one of their flagship stores to rebuild confidence after her drink drive conviction hit the press. The board have been astonishingly supportive. A one-off mistake. Enormous pressure. We stand by you. And they've even appointed a driver so she can keep visiting their retail sites. She steps into the harsh strip lighting of the shop, walks straight past the bread and the milk, and places 2 bottles of vodka on the counter. The cashier doesn't even look up. 3 minutes later, she's back in the car. The cold glass is pressing against her calf through the expensive fabric of her trousers. And that's when it hits her. If I start drinking this now, he's gonna know. He's an employee. I'm the CEO. She forces a smile into the rearview mirror. "Long day ahead," she says, lightly. "Mind if I make a call?" But underneath the performance, another truth is taking shape. It's just after 6 a.m. There are 2 bottles of vodka in her bag, and she's already strategizing how to drink without anyone noticing, just to feel able to. If any part of Jane's story feels uncomfortably familiar, if you've ever looked successful on the outside while quietly worrying about how much you're drinking on the inside, you are not alone, and you are not broken. What most people call addiction, I see as a cluster of signals, signs that specific psychological capacities in your life have been pushed way beyond what they were ever trained to handle. Alcohol isn't the problem, it's the solution that's taken over, a short-term way of coping that's now running the show. I'm a psychotherapist, executive coach, clinical supervisor, award-winning researcher, and the creator of the Lifelong Capacities Map and the PsycheVita Vitality Scale. Over the past 2 decades, I've supported more than 1,200 clients, many of them high-achieving professionals and leaders, to move from quiet, hidden self-destruction into genuine self-mastery. My background is in biochemistry, where I specialised in the biochemistry of mood and behaviour, and later I taught therapy research methods to masters and PhD students. And again, I've seen that what gets labelled as alcoholism or addiction is rarely about a defective person. It's about psychological vitality under strain and a set of capacities and competencies that were never fully developed for the life that person is now trying to live. So whether you work with clients like Jane, counsellors, therapists, supervisors, psychologists, coaches, or are someone like Jane, a high-performing professional who's quietly worried about your relationship with alcohol, this episode is for you. We're going to do 3 things. 1, slow down Jane's story and decode what her drinking is actually signalling beneath the surface, not in diagnostic labels, but in human experience. 2, map those signals onto the Lifelong Capacities Map. Things like emotional processing, somatic attunement, impulse control, healthy self-worth, and an inner moral compass. 3, show you how to start training those skills with a clear next step inside the grow section of PsycheVita.com and a PsycheScription you can use in the moment before you pour the drink. Let's start at the moment in the car. From the outside, Jane's life looks enviable. She's in her 40s, running a well-known retail brand. She has the tailored suit, the corner office, the calendar full of strategy meetings, investor calls, and board presentations. The drink drive conviction a little while ago was a shock to her and to everyone around her. She told the story so many times it almost felt rehearsed. It was a charity gala. I hadn't eaten enough. I misjudged it. I was exhausted. It was a stupid mistake. The board accepted it. The press moved on. She kept her job. But inside, something shifted. The conviction was not the beginning of the problem. It was the moment the hidden pattern became visible. In the weeks that followed, her drinking changed. She stopped going to evening events altogether. Too dangerous. She started drinking more at home, alone. Then, after a particularly brutal board grilling, she'd had her first morning drink, just to steady herself before a site visit. By the time we meet her at 6 a.m. outside the corner shop, the pattern is clear. She's waking up with shaking hands and a racing heart. She needs alcohol to stop the internal noise enough to function. She's deeply ashamed and completely dependent. If we only look at the surface, we use language like alcohol use disorder, high-functioning alcoholic, relapse risk after a drink driving conviction. But if we listen inside the moment, we hear something else. In the back of that car, with the bottles pressing against her leg, Jane's internal monologue sounds more like, "I can't face today without this. I can't let them see I'm not coping. I can't afford to fall apart. I should know better. I'm a fraud." Beneath the vodka, we find unprocessed shame from the conviction, terror of losing her identity and income, a lifelong pattern of tying her worth to performance, and a nervous system that has no idea how to come down safely. The alcohol is not her badness, it's her compensatory nervous system. It's the only tool she has for now. On this channel and inside PsycheVita.com, we don't stop at the label. We ask, what are these behaviours signals of? Which specific capacities and competencies are being overwhelmed or underdeveloped here? The Lifelong Capacities Map is a developmental map of the whole human landscape. 12 metadomains, 48 competencies, and a behavioural anchor scale from 0 to 5. Instead of saying, Jane's an alcoholic, we can say, here is Jane's map signature, the specific constellation of strengths and undertrained capacities that make alcohol such a powerful solution in her life right now. A few of the capacities that light up in her story. 1.2, adaptive emotional processing. Her ability to safely experience and move through painful emotions like shame, fear and grief. 3.4, healthy self-worth. Her sense of being worthy of care and dignity, independent of performance. 6.1, impulse control. The gap between I need a drink and actually buying and opening the bottle. 8.2, somatic attunement. Sensing the early bodily signs of stress, withdrawal or overwhelm before they become unbearable. 8.4, recovery and decompression practices. Having healthy ways to come down from pressure rather than relying on alcohol. 10.3, self-monitoring. Her capacity to observe herself accurately in real time, not just in hindsight. 11.4, inner moral compass, the internal conflict between how she wants to live and what she's actually doing. When those capacities are under strain, not absent, but stretched beyond their current level, we see signals. Bottles in bags before 7 a.m, strategies to hide consumption, an internal life full of self-attack and fear. So instead of, why are you doing this to yourself? What's wrong with you? We ask, what is this behaviour doing for you? and which capacities need training so you don't have to lean so hard on alcohol to survive. Let's talk about vitality. In PsycheVita, vitality is not the absence of symptoms. It's the capacity to renew energy, integrate experience, and grow through challenge. Jane's PsycheVita vitality has been under sustained attack, chronic pressure, sleep disruption, constant performance anxiety, a public conviction, isolation at the top. Before we ever mention addiction, her body has been throwing up warning lights, tight chest before presentations, knots in her stomach during board meetings, waking at 3 a.m, wired and exhausted with a pounding heart, shaking hands unless she has just one drink. These are not random inconveniences. They are somatic signals that her current life demands are exceeding her internal capacity to cope. But Jane has never been taught to read those signals as information. She's been taught to override them. Coffee to push through fatigue, wine to quiet the mind, work to drown out loneliness. I'm fine as a default response. By the time vodka arrives at 6 a.m, her body's subtle whispers have become screams. And this matters not just psychologically, but physically. Over time, patterns like this raise cardiovascular risk, impair liver function, disrupt immune and hormonal systems, and shorten health span, the years of life lived in good health, not just the length of life itself. So when we help someone like Jane work with alcohol as a signal, we're not just talking about behaviour, we're talking about the trajectory of her entire body and brain. Jane doesn't come to therapy saying, "I think of a drink problem." She comes because a trusted, non-executive director says quietly to her, "You don't have to do this alone." She frames it as coaching for leadership under pressure. She is much more comfortable talking about strategy than shame. In our first session, she tells the drink drive story like a case report. "Look, it was humiliating. I've apologised. I've learned. I can't let this define me. My issue now is performance. I can't afford to let the board down. If I leap straight to the word addiction, I will lose her. So instead, I stay curious about the morning. Tell me about the first time you had a drink before work." She hesitates and then laughs in that brittle way high achievers do when they're about to say something that terrifies them. It was after a really rough investor call. I just needed something to steady me. I thought, I'll just do it once. I can handle it. We track the progression together from just once to only on really hard days to if I don't, I can't function. At this point, instead of saying, "So you're an alcoholic," I say, "Can we treat this as a signal? A message from your system that parts of you are under strain, parts that never got the training they needed for this level of pressure." She pauses. "Training? I can work with," she says. "I'm good at training." That's the opening. We haven't denied the seriousness, we've reframed it from "you're a defective person" to "your life is demanding skills that were never developed and alcohol has been doing its best to fill the gap." We gently build her map, not an abstract diagram, a lived, felt sense of what's happening inside her. We notice how she deals with feelings like shame, fear, and loneliness. After the conviction, she goes into overdrive, crisis management, PR, reassuring everyone else. At home, she can't bear to sit still. The moment she slows down, the emotions arrive. So she pours another drink. We name this. Your system hasn't learned how to let these feelings move through in a safe way yet. As 1.2 adaptive emotional processing, it's not weakness, it's a skill nobody taught you. We explore where her sense of worth comes from. It turns out her worth has always been tied to grades, promotions, bonuses, external validation. Underneath, the belief sounds like, if I'm not exceptional, I'm nothing. A public conviction threatens not just her job, but her entire identity. Alcohol becomes the thing that lets her pretend she can still hold it all together. We frame this as, your worth has been attached to performance hooks your whole life. 3.4 healthy self-worth is the capacity to know you are worthy of care and respect, even when you make a mistake. We zoom in on the decision chain, not the dramatic rock bottom, but the micro moment. I'm stressed. I'll just pick up a bottle on the way home. We don't shame the impulse, we locate where she currently has no pause button. Capacity 6.1, impulse control, here isn't about gritting your teeth forever. It's about building 2 or 3 seconds of space between the urge and the action. Enough space for another capacity to come online. We notice how disconnected she is from her physical body. She can recite numbers, strategies, board politics in detail, but when I ask, what do you feel in your physical body right now as you talk about this? She goes blank. This is 8.2, somatic attunement, and 8.4, recovery and decompression. Sensing her internal state, having ways to discharge tension that don't involve alcohol. We begin with tiny experiments, feeling her feet on the floor in meetings, noticing her breathing before big conversations, trying one non-alcoholic decompression ritual in the evening, a hot shower, stretching, a slow walk. It sounds almost trivial, but for a system that's only ever used more work and more alcohol as regulators, these are radical steps. We help her notice herself in real time, not just, I drank too much yesterday, but I can feel the urge rising now. We design a simple daily check-in. 1. On a scale from 0 to 10, how wired or shut down am I right now? 2. What am I craving? A drink or a state shift? 3. What are 3 options for changing my state? Only one of which involves alcohol. This is 10.3, self-monitoring in action. Finally, we give space to her values. Her conviction didn't just embarrass her, it shattered her image of herself as someone who protects her staff, models safety, never puts others at risk. We don't bypass this. We say, your guilt is also a signal of your values. Your 11.4 inner moral compass is still working. Our job is not to drown it in shame, but to help you act from it again. Slowly, we move from, I'm a terrible person, to, I did something that broke my own values. I can choose differently now. As these capacities grow, we see cascading changes in her relationship with alcohol. As 8.2, somatic attunement improves, she notices tension and craving earlier, which makes it easier to use 6.1 impulse control. As 1.2 adaptive emotional processing becomes safer, she can tolerate waves of shame, fear, and grief without immediately needing to drink them down. As 3.4 healthy self-worth strengthens, her identity is less fused with perfect CEO, which reduces the desperation to numb any crack in the facade. As 11.4 inner moral compass is honoured rather than drowned, her motivation shifts from, I mustn't get caught, to, I want to live in line with what I actually care about. On paper, it might look like fewer morning drinks, more days alcohol-free. Eventually, a move from dependence to a much more sustainable pattern, and in some cases, complete abstinence. But from a PsycheVita perspective, the deeper change is her nervous system has more tools. Her identity has more foundations than just performance. Her body has more options than push through or numb out. The bottles in the bag were never the whole story. They were the visible tip of a hidden skills gap. You might not be a CEO, you might not have a drink drive conviction, but perhaps you wake up thinking about when you can have your first drink. You're drinking more than you planned, more often than you'd like. You're using alcohol to switch off your mind, your feelings, or your body. And part of you is starting to whisper, "This isn't nothing." Instead of asking, "Am I an alcoholic? Do I qualify?" I'd invite you to ask 3 different questions. 1. What is my drinking doing for me right now? Is it helping you sleep? Take the edge off social anxiety, numb shame or loneliness, quiet the sense of being never enough. 2. What are the signals my body and life are sending me? Morning shakes, blackouts, increasing secrecy, strained relationships, health markers creeping in the wrong direction. 3. Which capacities might my life be asking me to grow? For example, if feelings are unbearable. 1.2. Adaptive emotional processing. If you only notice stress when it's extreme. 8.2. Somatic attunement. If your worth is glued to performance. 3.4. Healthy self-worth. If you go from urge to action with no pause. 6.1. Impulse control. 10.3. Self-monitoring. If you feel crushing guilt but can't translate it into change. 11.4. Inner moral compass. You don't have to label yourself to start training. You can simply say, my drinking is a signal. It's showing me exactly where my skills need to grow. That's the beginning. I want to leave you with one small practice you can use today. Think of it as pre-drink training, not perfection. The next time you notice an urge to drink, especially outside your usual pattern, try this. 1. Pause for 30 seconds before you pour. Put the bottle or glass down. Feel your feet on the floor. Notice 3 sensations in your body. 2. Name what the drink is promising you. This will help me sleep. This will make me less anxious. This will shut my brain up. This will make this loneliness bearable. 3. Ask, what else could meet some of that need? A 5-minute walk. A call or text to someone safe. A shower. A few minutes of slow breathing with your hand on your chest. Writing down exactly what you want to escape from. You don't have to choose the healthier option every time. In fact, you probably won't. But every time you pause, name and consider alternatives, you are already training. 8.2. Somatic attunement. Feeling your body. 10.3. Self-monitoring. Observing your urge. 6.1. Impulse control. Making space before you act. 1.2. Adaptive emotional processing. Acknowledging your feelings. That's not failure, that's recovery as skill building. 1 repetition at a time. If this signal is active in your life right now, if alcohol has quietly started to run more of your days than you'd like to admit, I want you to know, you're not weak. You're not hopeless. You're not broken. Your life has demanded skills that nobody ever gave you the chance to develop. The drinking is the signal. Inside the Grow section of PsycheVita.com, you'll find full signals and mastery packs for the exact capacities we've touched on today. 1.2 Adaptive Emotional Processing, learning to feel safely. 3.4 Healthy Self-Worth, unhooking your worth from performance. 6.1 Impulse Control, building that crucial pause between urge and action. 8.2 Somatic Attunement, and 8.4 Recovery and Decompression, learning to listen to your body and give it healthier off-ramps. 10.3 Self-Monitoring, seeing yourself clearly in real time. 11.4 Inner Moral Compass, reconnecting with your values without drowning in shame. Each comes with teaching videos, written guides, and a PsycheScription, a short guided practice you can use as your daily dose of inner training. For this episode, the PsycheScription focuses on that crucial pre-drink moment, slowing down, feeling your body, meeting the emotion directly, and expanding your menu of responses. You'll find it inside the relevant signal at PsycheVita.com. And if you're someone who wants the full roadmap to understand all 12 capacities and 48 competencies, my book, Transform Your Life, The Ultimate Guide to Self-Mastery, walks you through the lifelong capacities map in depth. Jane didn't become a different person overnight. There were relapses. There were evenings where the bottle won. There were mornings when the shame felt unbearable. But over time, as she trained her capacities, her body became less alien, her emotions became more survivable, her worth became less fused with her job, and her behaviour came back into alignment with her values. The vodka at 6 a.m. was never just about vodka. It was a signal that her inner architecture needed attention, that it was time to stop surviving on one dangerous strategy and start building the skills that would let her live, lead, and love with more integrity and ease. And that's what I want you to take from this. You don't have to lose everything for your drinking to matter. You don't have to wait for rock bottom. Your signals are already telling you where your skills need to grow. On this channel, we're building a community of people, professionals, therapists, leaders, seekers, who are ready to move beyond labels, beyond stigma, and into real psychological vitality. In another video, we'll look at another high-functioning pattern, workaholism, when productivity becomes the socially rewarded addiction, and we'll map which capacities you need to grow to step out of that trap too. Until then, remember, you're not broken. Your symptoms are signals. Thriving isn't luck or magic. Thriving is a skill set, and you were born to master it.